Hi friend, welcome back to the channel where we focus less on trying and more on being the best version of ourselves. In today's video, I want to discuss a little bit more about revision and about how we can change the past, or if it's even possible to change the past. So I got a question a little while ago of somebody being really concerned that what they were manifesting for the future wasn't going to physically change the past. There are a lot of people who debate whether or not revision actually changes your past, or if it changes your perception of the past, or if it's even possible to actually physically change an experience that happened before and have everybody in your reality reflect that whatever you are manifesting was the event that actually happened in the past, if that makes sense. I want to reiterate that all possibilities exist, and I want to go back to the conversation of multiple lifelines, alternative lifelines. If you've read Reality Transurfing by Vadim Zealand, you know that he refers to this as the alternative space. So pretty much all of those terms are referring to the 4D. And the 4D is a place where time does not exist the same way that it exists here in our 3D experience. We have a linear experience of time so that we can go from point A to point B so that we can have a past, present, future. And so it's literally not like everything everywhere all at once. If you've seen that movie, it's literally my favorite movie. It's so good. So all of these possibilities, what we mean by they all exist simultaneously, possibilities are endless, all possibilities exist, is that they exist in potential form, in the quantum form, in this 4D space. So they're all kind of not even overlapping each other, but they are just all coalesced into the same little point. It's like from one little point of all existence, everything comes from that. So everything that ever could exist, ever has existed, ever will exist, comes from the same source energy, which is the all. Those possibilities manifest into the alternative space, or the 4D, and then we use our manifestation, imaginative, creative power to pull those possibilities into our current reality. And it's more like we use our imaginative power to peek into the alternative space, choose an alternative we like, and then we shift to that lifeline. So there are multiple lifelines, literally infinite lifelines, all simultaneously coexisting, all playing out at the same time. In that experience, that is the only experience that is the present there, that is now there, even though from our perspective in linear time, it would be 200 years ago, or 5 months into the future, or literally what we perceive as now, but with different factors. Things look different, the variables have changed. This is where we bring in the conversation of the multiple versions of yourself. We're talking about being the best version of yourself. So all the best version of yourself is you being on the lifeline that you are most aligned with, the one that is leading you to your wish fulfillment, or where you are in your fulfillment. That's the lifeline you want to be on. So if we're talking about revision, what we want to think about is not that we are changing the past and the you currently is going to have shifted that past in order to have a different future. That past is still going to exist on that lifeline. What you are going to do is shift to a new lifeline that has a different past that led to a series of events, which gets you to the future, which you call your wish fulfilled, or your desired state, your desired end. The main focus that you want to have is not, I am changing the past, because you can't change the past. That alternative is there. That experience exists. That is a possibility, because all possibilities exist. So we don't want to focus on changing it or getting rid of it. We just want to focus on shifting away from that and into the experience that we want to be living at the current moment. When you see a past experience from a different perspective, or you're revising and imagining something happened in a different way, you're tuning into an alternative space or a different lifeline or a different version of you that did have that experience. And it's kind of like the version of you that's living right now is stepping into that other reality that has that past that you're imagining. And so from then on, you kind of take over that lifeline and you go out and live the rest of that story, instead of staying in the lifeline that had the experience that you want to revise and having that play out in whatever future events happen because of that past event. So we're no longer worried about whatever that lifeline is. Once we've recognized and made the conscious decision that this is no longer the experience I want to have, the events that have happened on this lifeline are not leading me to a favorable place, I'm gonna shift. you are going to see the past as being that past experience that you want to have, which would have led you to your wish fulfilled. So this is revision. By seeing the past in a different way and not focusing on changing the past, but focusing on creating a new memory of your past, you are aligning yourself with the version of yourself who did have that past experience, and then therefore you can shift into that reality and you can go on to live in that story instead of the story that was playing out on the other lifeline. So even though that lifeline exists, that possibility doesn't have to be made manifest. It can play out in the alternative space and not be manifested in physical reality if you were living out another experience. So that's one way you can think about revision, by looking at a past memory, revising it, and then shifting into a new alternative or a new dimension or a new version of yourself that has a different lived experience, a new story that leads you to your fulfillment. Or you can go to the opposite end and you can just live in the end, which is going to give you the same result either way. So that is why most of the time I'm just going to recommend that you live in the end and not focus on the past scenario, especially if you are very attached to it, because we know that if you're replaying the past, you're recreating the past in your present experience. And the past, once it's gone, no longer actually exists. It goes back into the alternative space. It goes back into being a possibility. And if you are having thoughts and reliving an experience from your past or from your memory, then you are subject to recreate the same experience because that's where your focused attention is. So if you move all the way to the end, living in the end, and find out what that final outcome is, what it is that you actually want, what's the reason that you want to change the past? What's the reason you want to revise this event? So obviously you're looking for a certain outcome. So can we just skip going through the past? Can we skip through what's happening now in current reality, and can we move to the end where you've already gotten what you want, where you're already in the place where you want to be, and where everything has already played out perfectly? Because we know that we don't have to worry about the how. That's not for us to fill in. All of the other aspects that need to come into alignment will do so because they're already packaged in on that alternative lifeline. It's a fully fledged thing. Like every alternative, every version of you has its destiny, has its fate. Now, this is something that is concrete in that reality. But what I want to make very clear is that you are not stuck, or you are not subject to stay on one path or stay on one lifeline. You can and you do move throughout these lifelines all the time, literally billions of times a day, through what you focus on, through what your thoughts are, through your identification and your state. So if you can move to the alternative lifeline where you're getting your desired outcome and you can see that future event kind of like a memory, kind of like this already happened, everything else that comes with that package deal will play out in your reality in order to lead you to that end. So this is what we call the bridge of incidents. So every reality already has a bridge of incidents built in. And when we don't focus on the how, it makes it a lot easier for that alternative to be picked, because it doesn't have so many variables like, oh, now we need to find lifeline that has this event, and then this happened this way, and then this happened this way, which led to this final event. If you just say, I want this final event, then there are probably thousands, millions, trillions, more than you can even imagine, of possibilities that could lead you to that end, and then you've made space and made yourself available for the quickest, easiest path of least resistance to open up to you. So that's why we say don't worry about the how. It's not that you can't, and it's not that the possibility of your how does not exist. It does. But when you open yourself up fully to let the alternative space do what it's supposed to do and find you the easiest path to get you where you want to go, and you live as the person in that state who is already there, then it's way more easy for you to align to that version of yourself and to go forth and manifest that experience for yourself. Can you change the past? No, not really, but you can acquire a new past. You can move to an alternative reality where the past that you want to remember is the past that happened, and that past leads you to the events which you want to experience. So you never really have to worry about, oh, if I'm manifesting this, is this person going to remember this? Or if this didn't happen, then I won't be able to get this, but I do want this part to stay, but I still want this outcome. None of that really matters. That's the scenario where I would just suggest you go straight to the end. If you have too many variables, too many what ifs, too many how is this going to happen, if this already happened, just nix it. Don't worry about trying to revise the past. Just move to the wish fulfilled and know that it's going to happen. Know that you don't have to worry about all the factors that are going to go into play to make it happen, just that it did. Obviously, you're there, you're living that experience, you're in that state, you know what you want. So from that end, you can trust infinite intelligence to do what it needs to do to get you where you need to go. Okay. But if there is something specific that you want to have happened in the past that you want to reflect to you in your new experience, then you can totally do that. There is that possibility there that exists. So just focus on shifting your memory of that experience and only focusing on the past that you would have want to experience. So revise the memory to be beneficial to you. Stick to that story and stop focusing on this didn't happen and start focusing on this did happen, because then you can move into the reality where it did. And there will be hints and signs and things in your reality, or somebody just blatantly outright telling you, yeah, that did happen. And you'll kind of be like in your head, like, what? Like, it's not like you're gonna lose memory of you being in your old reality and you have to be like, oh my God, I completely forgot about this experience. I only know this is my past. Like, you don't have to be scared that if you still have a semblance of memory of that event happening, that it's going to affect your future. You just have to know, I identify with this experience. This is the experience I chose. This is what is real to me. This is my truth. And if you stick to that story and stop focusing on the undesirable event or the undesirable story, and you have full faith and full conviction that this is your story, this is your truth, this is what we're going with, and you stick to that, you persist in that, then you will be led to where you need to go on your bridge of incidents, because that's how the alternative space works, okay? But what is kind of mind-boggling to wrap your mind around is that all these possibilities really do exist. That is the quantum nature of reality. It's not that when people use the word quantum and people get like, oh, science, oh, I'm scared, like, oh, what does that mean? It's not like, it's really not a big deal. And even when we talk about making quantum leaps, making a quantum leap is not making like a huge jump into a new reality. It's actually like smaller than you can comprehend, like almost literally incomprehensibly small, to where like just a shift in your awareness, just as you being the observer, you shift into a new possibility. That's all it is. So don't make it such a big deal. Don't like question yourself and question, is this gonna work? Is that gonna work? Because like whatever you say it's gonna be is what it's gonna be. So it would benefit you the most to just decide what it's gonna be and then just stick to that story until you see it harden into fact. That's what Neville Goddard said all the time. Your assumption must be persisted in until it hardens into fact. So no matter what you see, no matter what you remember or what happened or what other people remember happened, continue to persist in the story of, this is my past, this is my memory of what it was, and I'm who I am now, or I have what I have now because of this. So everything's good, everything's working out perfectly. This is exactly where I'm supposed to be, and you will be led there. The only caveat that I have with the way that revision is spoken about now, which I don't think was Neville's intention, but I think it's easy for you to run away with this kind of idea and to get too focused on, I have to change the past, I have to change the past. It's like, no, you don't have to change the past exists, it is there. But the same way we say that in the present moment, you can refocus on the past and recreate that experience, if you focus on a new past, you can create a different experience. So just change your perception of the past, shift into a new version of yourself who views the past differently, have a different perspective, and you will see different results. So it is a little bit of a cognitive dissonance at times, but when that happens, or when you feel like, this is kind of bullshit, I don't know what's really going on here, what do? Repetition. You repeat and you persist, and it doesn't matter if it feels like a lie, and you don't have to tell yourself, oh yeah, this is what happened, if that makes you feel like you're doing something wrong, or if that's bringing up resistance or bad feelings in you or whatever, and you just don't feel like that's right for you to do, then you just tell yourself that I am on my bridge of incidents leading me to the place where I want to be. I know that I'm on the life path, and I know that I'm on the trajectory to my wish fulfilled, and I can rest assured in that. I can rest assured that everything that is happening for me right now is for my benefit. And just keep telling yourself that story. Keep repeating it to yourself over and over again until it starts to feel more natural. Eventually it will feel more natural, but you have to persist in it. And that is the key to manifestation, the naturalness of it, the identification with it. So if you can identify yourself as a new person with a new past, a new version of yourself, then you will have a new version of events manifested in your life. And if you want other people to reflect that story to you, assuredly they will, if you are the one to project that story initially. So yes, you can change the past, you can change the past, or you can change your experience of the past, but that past still exists. You just don't have to identify with it anymore, and it doesn't have to affect your future if you don't want it to. It is literally up to you. It is literally all your own choice. And if you have a question about what about this or what about that, it's whatever you say it is. If you say that's gonna affect you negatively, it's gonna affect you negatively. If you say it doesn't matter, I can still do it anyway, it doesn't matter. You can still do it anyway. It is literally up to you, and this is the great privilege we have to create our own story, to have the free will of choice in our experience, and to be able to shift our state so that we can manifest whatever the fuck we want. So it really is, it's really up to you. It's really whatever you want it to be. So don't let other people's limitations of what it means to revise, or what it means to change the past, or what it means to be a new version of you, don't let that trap you into that box. It is whatever you want it to be. But I don't know if I finished my thought, but I'll go back just in case I didn't. The thing that I would really suggest though is to not really hammer in the reality of an experience by continually focusing on it by trying to change it. Do you know what I mean? So let's say your version of revision involves scripting, and every day when you're scripting about the new experience, while you're scripting about the new experience, you're really thinking about the old experience. So for some people, it's okay to continue to do that, and you just continue to script and continue to script and continue to script until the new experience becomes more real for you, and you start to forget about the old experience, and you can kind of feel into it, and it feels more natural and more real to you. That's fine if that's your path and that's the way you like to do it. But what I'm telling you is that you can just disidentify with that old experience and just choose a new memory. Just choose every time you think about it to be like, oh yeah, that's how that happened. That's so great that that's how it happened, because now look. It's kind of like Neville's I remember when. To be honest, personally, I like going the I remember when route, which I've talked about in a previous video, rather than focusing on trying to revise specifically an experience, because then it's easy to get caught up in a like, oh, am I still focusing on this too much? Or I don't know if I'm gonna recreate this because I'm thinking about it, or like, I still feel resistance to it. I can't really feel the naturalness of this. But when you say like, I remember when, like, yeah, that happened, but now this is like this, and it's done. But I understand that some people want to genuinely change the past and not have any recollection, or anybody else have any recollection of what the past event was. And so I'm telling you that that is possible, that you can do that. You are shifting to a new alternative that entails that experience. But there are also, like I said, infinite possibilities. So there is a reality where, yeah, you remember your past experience happened, but still it doesn't negatively affect you in the present, and you are still allowed to have whatever the desire is, the same manifestation that you would have had you just completely revised the whole event. It's okay to just say, yeah, I remember when that happened. Yeah, maybe that was a shitty experience, but look now, it doesn't matter because now I'm here. And you can even say, yeah, I remember when that happens, but the funny thing about it is nobody else seems to remember. And now my life is like this, like it's so inconsequential, like nobody seems to remember. That's fucking crazy. Like I remember it, but nobody else does. That's so weird. Like literally it is yours to play with and yours to do whatever you want with it. Like you're limitless. You can do whatever you want. But I just want to reiterate to you and make you aware that yes, this is your power and this is your gift. Like you're allowed to do this. You're allowed to do whatever you want. And it's not because I'm telling you you're allowed, but I am just here to be a reminder to you of your power, of how great your imagination really is, as long as you like allow it to work for you, as long as you allow in general. That's the biggest thing, is like you have to first of all be very clear about what you want, and then you have to be in a space of receptivity. You have to actually allow it to happen. So if you want to change the past, if you want to have a different lived experience of the past and have your reality reflect that new story to you, and then have a different result because of that, that's totally fine, and that is totally possible. And yes, you can do it, because all possibilities exist. They're there for you. So tune in to that lifeline, tune into that version of you who has that memory, who has that experience, and live there and think, if I was the version of me who had had this experience and because of that is now living this experience, how would I feel? How would I think? How would I interact with the people in my reality? How would people talk to me? How would I be living? What would I be doing? How would I be acting? If you can get into this kind of questioning game with like meeting this version of yourself, like who actually is this version of myself? What is their life like? What is their experience? What are the kind of things that they're thinking? when you can get into that headspace, you can kind of feel more into it, and you can kind of feel when you're having thoughts that don't feel as good or feel like the old version of you, it's an immediate, is this aligned or is this not aligned? Is this the truth or is this not the truth? Or is this my old truth or is this the new truth? So you can kind of feel more into that when you very clearly identify that to yourself. Clearly, like carve out that space for yourself to be like, okay, who is this version of me? So that every time you feel like you're a little bit off kilter, you can just ask yourself, is this aligned or is this not aligned? And if it's not, then it's not a thing where you need to shun that aspect of yourself or pretend that it didn't exist or that it didn't happen, but you just say, I disidentify with that. I choose to believe that that's not the truth. I choose to believe that's a faulty memory, or that's a funky memory, or maybe I just made that up. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. And I'm going to shift back into the version of me who knows that this is the truth, who knows that this is my experience and that this is what I'm worthy of, this is what I'm deserving of, this is what I get to have, and this is what I do have. So it's done. And when you can get into that line of thinking, everything happens so much more easily. You open the possibilities to flow for you and to move more easily around you, because then the alternative space is not like walking on eggshells. Like, oh, is she gonna be okay if like we do this before she gets to her fulfillment? Is she gonna be okay with this step on the bridge of incidents? I don't know, we might have to tiptoe around that. And then you're talking like, okay, maybe this is gonna take a little bit longer. Maybe I'm feeling like I'm not ready for this. Maybe this is not feeling natural. Maybe it doesn't feel right. When it doesn't feel right and it doesn't feel natural, then what does your reality say? This is not for you, because this is not your identity. This is not who you are. This is not in your state. So this is not your experience. So the biggest thing you want to do is shift your state, shift your identity, become the version of you living in that reality where it's already done. And then whether you want a different past, whether you want a different future, whether you want a different now, whatever it is, just say you have it now. Whatever it is, just say that you are that person now, and continue to persist in that story until it hardens into fact. That's it. Okay, that's it. That's all. I'm done. And it's done. All right, you guys, that's gonna do it for me today. I really hope you all enjoyed and got something of value from this video. Please be sure to leave your questions, comments, concerns in the comment box below, and check out the description for my social media links, services, all that good stuff is down below. And other than that, I love you all so much. Thank you for being here, and I will see you next time. Bye.